and welcome back to another episode of the Twenties Detox. I have a video on today, which is different. I haven't done that yet, and I don't know, I had the desire to. I know some of you guys like video content, so I was like, well, why not try it out, I have some of my plants set up to set the vibe. You know me. I have so many plants in my room. It's ridiculous, but I love them. Okay, so little things that have been going on in my life. Really cool. I want to tell you guys about this app. It's not sponsored at all, but it is an app called xoxo that if you scan a product, it will tell you on a scale of 0 to 100 of how healthy it is for you. And I kind of went on oh my God, I went a little overboard. I basically scanned every single skin product and makeup product. What freaked me out is that the dermatology recommended products were the worst for you. Someone explain that to me. Well, I scanned the products that I use the most, and I was like, these are probably good. And they ended up being shit. I purged a lot of my products, and today I'm just wearing makeup that I know is good for me. My boyfriend's like, don't go too crazy because you're just gonna become obsessive and just like, it's not healthy. I get it, but I think anything that goes inside my body or on the majority of my skin, which is your largest organ, it better freaking be good for me, or at least not carcinogenic. This weekend, I'm celebrating my birthday. Technically, because this is going up on Monday, it'd be the weekend that just passed for you guys. I'm celebrating my birthday. Friday, I'm going out with some of my friends, my sister and my cousins, having a nice little dinner. And that's basically all I have planned then. Saturday, my boyfriend's coming, and so we'll probably spend the day together, and then we're all going to go out with my family to dinner again. And then Sunday, my parents actually have a concert, which is my birthday. It was yesterday. They are going to a Journey concert. To be fair, they booked it 2 years ago, and then it was just postponed because of COVID. So it really wasn't their fault. It's also the Oscars. So I'm going to spend my birthday evening watching the Oscars, and I freaking hope that Austin Butler wins for that Elvis movie. Oh my gosh, probably my favorite movie of, I guess what it is, 2022. I loved it, and you know what? I've become more obsessed with Elvis music because of that, so I think that's a win. But the whole point of this episode this week, it's a little different. It isn't like one topic. I'm going to reflect on this past year of all the lessons I learned when I was 23. I have my journal with me. I journaled a bit about it, and I'll just go over some of the lessons that came to mind. So it'll be a little bit more of like a chit chat, authentic kind of podcast episode, I guess. So what is the first lesson? Okay, I wrote in here, you can't heal yourself by healing others. You have to heal yourself by turning inward and healing yourself. I think I put a little video about it relating to my last episode with my great aunt Rena. I was doing my makeup, and that just came to my mind, and I was like, that resonates. Sometimes I feel like the things that I say and express are not my words. They're like downloads from a higher source. Like some of the stuff that I'm saying is something I really need to hear. It isn't just out of personal experience or just wisdom. Like, I think it's downloads. I think starting this account, the Twenties Detox, it's been over a year now. And that means like my Instagram, well, I started with Pinterest. If you want to learn more about that story, you can check the very first episode. And I talk a little bit more about that, but all of my social media platforms and the podcast and the blog, well, it's helping people, right? It's about giving my learnings and unlearnings and teaching people about that, and just, reassurance and guidance throughout this decade of our lives that can be the most challenging. I lost myself a couple times along that way, and I have previously in relationships with or friendships, stuff like that. And it's people pleasing. The root of people pleasing all comes with this self-worth issue of you put others on this pedestal, like you're sacrificing your own needs for them. And for me, that happened since I was very young because I would put my worth into helping others. So if I wasn't, then I kind of was like all over the place and I didn't know who I was. What I found when I was going through really hard times is rather than be vulnerable and tune inward to myself and spend time alone reflecting on what's really happening in order for me to move on and work past it, I would help other people. I could not face my own emotions, but I knew that they were painful. I knew that, but I couldn't face them. So I could identify in others that whatever they may be feeling is painful. Like, oh my gosh, I don't want you to feel this because I know where you're at. So I would try and help them. It gave me satisfaction. It made me feel good, but temporarily, right? Because it was out of the ego. I know, it seems kind of silly because some people think, well, you're helping people. Isn't that like selfless? Remember Phoebe from Friends that says no kind of good deed is completely selfless because if it makes you feel good, then it is somewhat selfish. I find that so interesting because the way that humans are wired, it's somewhat true that to have an act be completely altruistic, it means that there needs to be no attachment to it, no attachment to the way that you want it to be in order to help them, but also in the way that you need to feel afterwards. And that's kind of hard, especially if you're dealing with your own sense of low self-esteem or low self-worth. So basically what I'm saying is what I learned there is, yes, it's amazing to help others, but the only way to heal your own issues is to break down those barriers within yourself first. I was listening to an episode of this lady talking about inner child healing, and she's actually a therapist, so she helps a lot of children do this. And she said what's so important for any people who want to be counselors or therapists is to do that inner child healing themselves, for them to go to therapy themselves. And a huge step that I did for myself this year is go to therapy for the first time. I know it sounds crazy for somebody that preaches about mental health awareness. Like, I've never been to therapy before other than this year. It doesn't mean that I haven't done the work, but what I like to think of it is another tool to put in the toolbox in order to help myself. So yeah, I had to remember that if I'm struggling, just because I have this platform and this reach with some people doesn't mean that I gotta sacrifice my own peace to help others. I gotta remember to always make sure to take care of myself first. And when I made that a greater priority, then I was actually able to produce way more content because it didn't come from like a draining aspect, and I wasn't neglecting a part of myself. Okay, next one. Oh, I love this one. Stop overanalyzing. Developing further on that therapy thing. The reasons why I didn't do it for so long is because I thought I can be my own therapist. I'm very well versed in the way that, the psychology works and psychopathology and mental disorders and mental illnesses. Like, I'm knowledgeable about it. So why would I go to a therapist if I can do that for myself? Yes, it's important to analyze why you're feeling the way you're feeling. That is important. But I don't want you to lose sight of the fact that in order to fully move past it, you need to face it and feel it. You can't just look at it. You need to feel it and move on. Because if you're afraid to feel it, then that is still controlling you and that is still a wall. That's still something preventing you from becoming a greater version of yourself. And my therapist has mentioned it's hard for me to speak from a victim mindset sometimes because I'm like, overanalyzing why this isn't the best way to go about it. She's like, okay, hold on a second. I wanna know how you feel right now. You have this inner child and you have this parent within yourself. The parent is the one trying to figure out why you're feeling this way. How can we move past it? How can we let things go? And then there's this inner child that is feeling all these things that probably needs a lot of validation and needs hugs and compassion, but you can't fully heal while always being the parent. So like your inner child is saying, I'm feeling, sad, I'm feeling guilty, I'm feeling ashamed. And it's like, oh, okay, but you're feeling it because of this and this and this and this and this. So let's move past it without letting your inner child fully sit in it and feel it. And then really absorb what you're teaching and move forward with it. I like to think of it like that. Like there are two parts of you. So if you are an overanalyzer, remember that you have to feel. Mental stability is not just, I feel only good emotions. Mental stability is the ability to feel every set of emotions without getting over-attached to it. Just letting them come and go. In the untethered soul, I've spoken about it so much. You're not your thoughts, you hear them. You're not your emotions, you feel them. And you're not your body, you just live through it. Okay, next. This is funny that I wrote this in my journal, this next one, because I actually already recorded an episode with one of my friends. I'm not gonna put any spoilers, I'm not doing that, but just it's a little bit about hustle culture, that's all I'm gonna say. So the fact that I wrote this in here, and I forgot about it, is very interesting. So things are in your brain, you don't know it. I wrote, you don't always have to do things so that it can either be productive or seen as something to improve productivity. Play to play, rest to rest. I'm not going to dive too much into this one because the next episode is going to talk all about that. Quite literally. I may have to put it into 2 parts because it was so good, the conversation I had with her. It's the trap of hustle culture. The way that society is now built off of capitalism and how everything is supposed to increase your productivity with these 5 a.m. morning routines in order to be seen as hacks of success. Or I used to block in time in my calendar to rest because I knew that if I rested, then that could help my productivity either later or the next day. That's great. At least I'm resting, right? I think of it as baby steps. Like if that is something that I really needed to do in order to get out of a workaholic lifestyle, great. But don't stop there. Remember that rest doesn't always need to have this goal, and play doesn't need to have this goal, and meditation doesn't need to look a certain way. And journaling doesn't need to look a certain way. It's because you're participating in the act of it. It's hard sometimes when we get so attached to the way that we think we should be living, and then something clicks where you're like, but we're just a being on a floating rock. We're just a being on a floating rock. And truly, the point of this experience is to be present and experience life in all its senses that we're given. To smell springtime and to feel things and to taste amazing food and to hear beautiful music. It's way more simple than it really needs to be. And yeah, it's good to have goals in life, but remember that not everything needs to have a goal. You can just be. Next is love is a choice. I am currently about 2.5 years with my boyfriend. I read this book called The 5 Love Languages. There's a part in it that talks about the honeymoon phase and how on average it lasted about 2 years. I think mine was a bit less, but I think that could have been because we met during the pandemic and because it was a very different way of living than what was before in our life. And the fact that we couldn't hide from a lot of our discomfort, that we might have connected and passed the honeymoon phase a lot sooner. But what I've found is it's not always going to be this instinctual thing with your partner. It's not always going to be the way that it was when you were in the honeymoon phase. In the honeymoon phase, you almost become obsessed with this person, and there's literally nothing else. You can't see anything else. You can't think of anything else. It's super fun, but what I've found in my generation is the second that dies off, then they're thinking something's wrong with their relationship. And it's the way that love happens in our brain. And after roughly 2 years, it just becomes more like a real love, where you're like, we're in this together and we're in this partnership, and anything that we need to do in order to move forward, let's do it together. Because when you're in a relationship with somebody for a little bit longer, it's harder to hide maybe those shadow parts of yourself. That's why it's more of a real love, because you're seeing that person. But something that I like to do is think of it, any little mishaps along the way, that's history. Every day is a new day. And that's the past. And I have to let go of that. I see a lot of people online talk about issues that they have with their partners. Their partner says they're going to do something, and then they don't do it. And they get upset, and they repeat that, and they're like, but I told you I wanted you to do this. Probably really, really simple. I'm not saying it's an overcomplicated thing, and they're fully capable of doing it. But you tell them what you want, and you leave the rest as history of all the other times they didn't do it. It's really important. A whole thing about being unattached and being present is to let go of any resentment and let go of any comparison. Because then that means you're not being in the present. You're not seeing it as this is the first day that we're having for the rest of our life, kind of thing. I love that line. And that's really helped my partner and I, my boyfriend and I, to move past certain challenges. And that heaviness, that resentment weighs on you. The times that I've had that resentment, my boyfriend's like, are you upset with me? Like, what's going on? And I'm like, I can't let this go. This is upsetting me. And like, we talk through it, and I realize I'm like, I gotta let this go. Like, we're freaking human, and we're trying our best right now. And I also think that if at least 80% of the time it's a great relationship and you feel so at peace with it and you feel so loved and so cared for, then that other 20% is nothing. You'll learn so much from yourself if you commit to going through that path with them, to understand how to navigate each other's 20%. Next. Oh my gosh, I wrote down having the motto that this is the first day of the rest of your life. I just said that, but my aunt showed me this meditation, and in it said, this is the first day of the rest of your life. There's some quotes that really stick with me that I could just like pump out like this, because something resonated so hard with that message and impacted me in the way that I behave from there on, and that was definitely one of them. That goes hand in hand with my message before of letting go of the past, letting go of attachments, resentments, and taking today as the first day of the rest of your life. Who cares if yesterday was shitty? Now we have today. How are we going to deal with this issue today? How are we going to maximize our life today? Because it's the first day of the rest of my life. It just allows you to stay more present and not over attach or obsess on either the past or the future. Another one, I swear to God, I did not read this. I wrote this a little while ago, so I can't remember. Next one is, never get too attached. With belief always comes doubt. I'm not going to get into the new attach. I already spoke about it a lot. But the belief coming with doubt, there's a difference of knowing and believing. And I put a TikTok video about it not too long ago of this man who was talking about the difference between the two. And knowing means you absolutely know this. But with believing, you do not know. You have to believe in it. So there's always an underlying doubt to whether or not that may or may not be true. So something that I try and remind myself to also not attach is to be open to people's point of view that may test my belief systems because it has an underlying doubt. It doesn't necessarily mean that you need to change your belief every time, but you listen, and you're not going to become defensive about your own belief in this. You listen to theirs. You're like, okay, I'm gonna kind of think about this. There's 3 things that you can do. You can realize it doesn't resonate with anything you believe in, it doesn't make sense to you, it doesn't align with you, then throw it away. 2 is some parts really don't, but then some parts about what that person said really resonated with me a little bit. And maybe this is going to change my point of view from there on. That's great. Option 3, throw out your old belief and adopt this new one. That's what this whole unlearning thing is. Sometimes we've had belief systems that used to be good for us, that used to serve us. But now, as we're constantly evolving and growing, new beliefs will support us better. Granted, some belief systems, limiting beliefs, have never been good for us, ever. But I think understanding that it should be flexible will allow you to keep moving forward and growing as a person versus staying stagnant. Another one, being mindful of the social media that you consume. Really funny as a person that posts on social media a lot, but to be totally transparent, I don't spend a lot of time on social media. I've set time limits, around 30 minutes on a lot of them. And that's mainly just TikTok and Instagram. The main issue with it is that a lot of what's put online now are these like fake highlight reels. And I think being young, being in your 20s, having these ideas for yourself and what you want to do and who you want to be can be very easily influenced, and you change your mind so quickly, too quickly. It's funny because I saw this video online and I loved it, but it was relating to some of the toxic influence of the social media platforms that we may have. And it is this man, and he asked somebody in the crowd, okay, can you tell me what your favorite food is? And the man in the crowd was like, tacos. He's like, okay, amazing. Love it. Now, I want you to imagine this scenario. You walk into this room where you can order tacos, and everything around you are these images of the best tasting food, every other kind of best tasting food. And everything, the way they've captured it and they took pictures of it, it literally makes you salivate because it looks so amazing. And so you go up and you're ordering your tacos. And then, in front of you, you have tacos, but they don't look as good as all the other images in that room. Do you think if you knew that, you saw the tacos in front of you, could that influence your decision making? Possibly. And what he compared it to is, so you have a vision, you have an idea of what you want to do. It feels really right for you, and you're really passionate about it. But then you go online and you scroll on social media, and another person is doing something else that looks like they're living their best life. And you start to question, is my idea really that good? Maybe I should do this instead, like similar to what they did. It worked out for them. But then what happens is every time you do that, and it strays farther and farther away from what you feel is your purpose, it's going to be easier to let it go and easier to let it go. And you're actually never getting anywhere. You're not taking any aligned action. You're not moving forward with your life. So be mindful of that. Constantly journal and really reflect for yourself. Don't compare to others. Is this right for me? Is this what I really want to do? This other lesson is about people leaving your life, not being in your life anymore. Friendship breakups, maybe real breakups. We're reinventing ourselves all the time in this decade. We're dabbling in some things and that used to resonate with us and don't anymore. And because of that, because we haven't fully settled down, some of the friends that we had along the way don't necessarily align with the way that you're going. To understand that people will come and go, and specifically now, I think it's going to be like crazy coming and going. That's going, like my episode about how to make friends and talking about the importance of quality over quantity. That's another reason why it's so important. Because if you spend time developing quality friendships, then usually, no matter what you're doing, it doesn't affect the relationship. I have some friends who, I've changed what I want to do so many times. They have changed what they want to do so many times. And somehow we can totally just pick off where we left off. Then I have other friends that I don't know where the heck they went. It was really, really hard for me at first because I'm like, okay, like what is happening here? If you have been here your whole life and the whole time that you've known this friend of yours, they're going to get used to you being here at this level. And then something causes you to start working on yourself. And you're like, I don't want to feel sad anymore. I don't want to be like this impulsive and reactive anymore. I don't want to do it. I want to work on myself. And you're going like this, meaning raising in vibration. And you're here now. They've known you the whole time you've been friends being down here. This is foreign to them. Maybe it is because they're not at that frequency, but also because of how the human brain is set up, not feeling familiar with who you are becoming now. And that's sometimes why strangers will support your new endeavors, your new passion projects a lot quicker than some of the friends who have always been there, because they don't fully recognize you and it brings them a little bit of discomfort. But like I said, if you focus on quality versus the quantity in that, the quality that you have, meaning you have great communication, you are vulnerable, you're authentic, you're open, that should not make you lose that friend. But if you feel like there's a lack of communication, a lack of openness, a lack of vulnerability, I'm sorry, but I don't know how it's going to keep going. If you are going like this and they're here, or they're used to you being here and they're having a hard time accepting that, and you guys don't have that sense of communication, the only way that it will work is either they work on that to go here or you have to go back down, which is not what we want. Those are the main lessons that I really got from my year being 23. And let me know what you think about this video idea. Should I do more with the video? I just, haven't really thought to do it. I also don't wear makeup much, but because I got all those new fancy, they're not fancy, they're like Burt's Bees and stuff, but new healthy products, maybe I will have more fun with makeup. Yeah, but I hope that you guys enjoyed this episode. I hope you have an amazing week, and I'll see you next time. Bye!